All right, so we're diving into Corporate Chanakya today by Radhakrishnan Pillai.
Yeah.
This book is fascinating how it takes this ancient Indian text called Arthashastra
Right.
and makes it like so relevant
Yeah.
for business.
It's amazing how it's written for rulers,
Oh, yeah.
for kings.
Or kings.
But Pillai, he takes that ancient wisdom and shows how we can use it in the boardroom.
Exactly.
Just as effectively as they did on the battlefield.
Yeah, and what I think is so interesting is Pillai's own story.
Right.
In the preface of the book, he talks about how discovering Arthashastra was like a total game changer for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't just some academic thing for him. It totally changed the way he approached business. And it actually led to his success.
That's what makes it so relatable.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this isn't just some dusty old manuscript. It's like living wisdom.
Yes.
So before we go any further, I think it would be good to clarify
Yes.
who Chanakya was
Please.
and what Arthashastra is all about.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was a little fuzzy on the details before I read the book.
Okay, well, imagine a brilliant strategist,
Okay?
almost like a kingmaker pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Okay.
That's Chanakya.
Got it.
He was advising rulers way back in the 4th century BC.
Wow.
And the Arthashastra, that's his masterpiece.
Okay.
And it's not just about creating wealth,
Right.
which is what some people think.
Yeah.
It covers economics and politics, leadership diplomacy.
Wow.
It's really like a comprehensive guide to wielding power and influence.
So it's about how to do those things effectively.
Effectively, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Pillai's argument is that these principles are timeless.
Yeah.
Right? They apply just as well to leading a team
Absolutely.
as they did back then.
It all comes down to human nature,
Oh.
which really hasn't changed that much over a few thousand years.
Right.
We still crave power.
Yeah.
We still make emotional decisions. We still fall prey to the same traps as people back then.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into some specifics.
Yeah.
What is one of the most maybe counterintuitive or surprising pieces of leadership advice that Chanakya offers?
Well, he has a lot to say about what not to do as a leader,
Oh, interesting.
which I think is so valuable
Right.
because we often focus on what TO do.
Yeah.
For example, he cautions against punishing someone even when they deserve it.
Oh, really?
If the timing or the method is not right.
Now, that is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
How can punishing someone when they're in the wrong backfire?
It all comes down to the psychology of leadership, you see.
Okay.
If a punishment seems unjust or too harsh,
Right.
it creates more problems than it solves.
Oh, so it can make people resent you
Exactly.
instead of respecting you.
Yeah, and it can erode the foundation of trust.
Uh-huh.
That's so essential for a team to function effectively.
So it's kind of like if you're a manager and you totally overreact
To a small
on stake.
Yeah, then people start walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
They're afraid to take risks.
Right.
They're even afraid to admit to making mistakes. Right.
And that can stifle creativity and innovation.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen in real life.
Oh, yeah.
I once worked with this manager who ruled through fear and intimidation.
Oh, wow.
It was a toxic environment.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to speak up or offer a new idea.
Because they were afraid of being reprimanded.
Yes, exactly.
It's a perfect example of how Chanakya's wisdom is still relevant today.
Yeah.
He also advises against coming up with new and unusual punishments.
Why is that?
Well,
Wouldn't that keep people on their toes?
it might seem that way at first, but imagine working in an environment
Okay.
where the rules are constantly changing.
Right.
You never know what to expect.
That would be unnerving.
Yeah, that kind of unpredictability can create so much anxiety
Yeah.
and actually decrease productivity
Oh, wow.
because people are too busy worrying about what punishment might come,
Right.
that they're not focused on their actual work.
So consistency and fairness are key.
Exactly.
It creates a sense of stability and trust,
Right.
which allows people to do their best.
Okay.
And here's another piece of advice that might seem counterintuitive. Chanakya warns against being overly protective.
Of your subordinates.
Yes.
Now that one really throws me for a loop.
Yeah.
How can shielding your team actually be a bad thing?
Well, think of it this way. If you're constantly stepping in to solve their problems or shielding them from the consequences,
Right.
you're robbing them of the opportunity to learn and grow.
And develop their own resilience.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
That's a good one.
A little bit of adversity is good.
Exactly.
So have you ever seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever observed a leader making one of these counterintuitive mistakes?
Many times.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, well, I had one manager
Okay.
who was extremely controlling.
Oh.
They micromanaged every little detail, and they never gave us any autonomy.
How did that make you feel?
It was demoralizing, to be honest.
Yeah.
We felt stifled, unappreciated. We knew we could do more, but we were never given the space to,
Spread your wings.
Yeah, spread our wings and take ownership.
And it probably drove some talented people away.
It did.
Yeah.
It really highlights how relevant Chanakya's insights are.
Yeah.
Even today.
Yeah.
It's not just about being the boss. It's about understanding those deeper psychological dynamics.
That are at play within the team.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so moving on from leadership styles.
Yeah.
What does Chanakya say about motivating employees and creating that culture of success?
Well, chapter 90,
Okay.
it's called Want to Be a Good Boss.
I love it.
It's a goldmine
Yeah.
of actionable advice.
Okay.
One of the most striking things he says is that a leader should treat their subordinates like a father.
Like a father figure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because it seems a little tricky these days.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think the core message here is
Okay.
about finding that balance between firmness and compassion.
Okay.
Just like a good parent sets boundaries and has high expectations for their children,
Right.
a good leader does the same for their team.
Okay.
But it's not about being authoritarian or distant.
Right.
It's about creating an environment that's supportive, where people feel both challenged and valued.
Okay.
A place where they can grow and learn without fear of being punished for every little mistake.
So it goes back to that psychological safety that you were talking about.
It's about understanding your employees' needs, investing in their development, and creating a culture of trust and mutual respect.
It's so important.
It is.
There's a quote from that chapter that I really liked.
Oh, yeah.
A man learns that his father was right when his son tells him that he is wrong.
I love that one.
It's so true.
Isn't it?
Sometimes we don't realize we're wrong until someone tells us. And sometimes it's someone younger or less experienced than us.
It takes humility to admit that.
It does.
And to learn from them.
It does.
It speaks to the importance of being open to feedback
Yes.
and recognizing that everyone on the team has something valuable to contribute,
regardless of where they are.
regardless of their position or experience.
Yeah.
And Chanakya reminds us that a good leader is always learning
Right.
and evolving.
Just like everyone else.
Exactly.
I think one thing that trips up a lot of first-time business owners is they get so fixated on sales figures, they kind of forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like they mistake income for profit,
Right.
which can be a recipe for disaster.
Oh, absolutely. And that ties in perfectly with what Chanakya says about financial acumen.
Okay.
He was way ahead of his time in understanding that simply focusing on sales
Right.
can be very misleading.
Yeah.
In chapter 91, he emphasizes the importance of the bottom line,
Okay.
the profit you're left with after all the expenses.
It's that difference between top-line revenue,
Yes.
which everyone gets excited about,
Right.
and bottom-line profit,
Exactly.
which is what really matters.
Which is the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of that quote by Adi Godrish.
Okay.
He said, "Sales is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is reality."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You can have all the sales in the world,
Right.
but if you're not managing your expenses
Yeah.
and ensuring a healthy profit margin.
You're building a house of cards.
Exactly.
So for those of us who aren't financial wizards,
Yeah.
what's like the key takeaway from Chanakya when it comes to money?
I think it's about being mindful and strategic.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in those vanity metrics.
Right.
Focus on building a sustainable business model
Oh.
with a healthy profit margin.
Okay.
And of course, never be afraid to seek expert advice
Yeah.
when you need it.
It takes a village.
It does.
Sometimes that village includes a good accountant
Absolutely.
or a financial advisor. Okay, so I want to shift gears a bit.
Sure.
I want to talk about Chanakya's threefold path to success.
Yes.
It's outlined in chapter 114.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, tell me more about this.
Okay, so the first path
Okay.
is success through counsel.
Okay.
This means seeking out expert advice and guidance
Right.
from those who have already achieved what you're striving for.
So mentors, advisors.
Yeah,
Even just reading books by people
Yeah.
who've been there.
exactly. It's
Yep.
like you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
There's so much knowledge and experience out there.
Tap into it.
Tap into it.
Yeah.
And there's a great example in the book.
Yeah.
Pillai tells a story about this foreigner
Okay.
who was struggling to get his business off the ground in India.
Okay.
He wasn't familiar with the laws and regulations.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah, so he finally realized he needed help.
Huh.
and he consulted a legal expert who guided him through the process.
It's like that moment when you realize, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
I need help.
Yeah, sometimes that's the hardest step.
It is.
But it's the most important.
So important.
Okay, so the second path
Okay.
is success through might. Now, that might sound a little intimidating,
Yeah, it does.
but it's not about brute force
Right.
or aggression.
It's about the power of connections
Exactly.
and alliances.
Yes, it's recognizing that we're stronger together.
We are.
Chanakya was a master strategist.
Nice.
He knew that having the right allies,
Yeah.
mentors, and networks,
It makes a huge difference.
it can make all the difference.
Yeah.
There's a story about a friend of his
Okay.
who went into politics.
Okay.
And he was saying how he wished he had a godfather figure
Oh, wow.
to guide him.
Yeah, because those environments can be so cutthroat.
They can be.
Yeah.
Especially if you're new to the game.
Right.
Having someone in your corner
Yeah.
to offer support and advice,
Can be so valuable.
invaluable.
Okay, so what's the third path?
The third path is success through energy.
Energy. Okay, so what does he mean by energy?
It's not just about being a go-getter or
Right.
having boundless enthusiasm.
Right.
It's about relentless effort, persistence,
Okay.
and a willingness to learn from experience.
So both successes and failures.
Both.
Okay.
There's a great quote
Okay.
in chapter 149
Okay.
where Chanakya defines activity as that which brings about the accomplishment of works undertaken.
So it's not just about being busy.
Right.
It's about focused action
Exactly.
that moves you closer to your goals.
Yes.
So it's momentum,
Momentum.
not
Yeah.
just motion.
I like that.
Aligning your energy
Yeah.
with your intentions
And taking action.
and taking action.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of these three paths,
Yeah.
do you have one that like resonates with you more than the others?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think all three are important.
Right.
And they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one,
Okay.
I'd say success through energy is the foundation. Because without that drive
Right.
and commitment,
The other two paths don't really matter.
they don't mean anything.
You can have all the advice and connections in the world.
Yeah.
But if you don't do anything with it,
If you don't put in the work,
yeah.
it's meaningless.
It's like Chanakya said,
Oh, yeah.
even after 100 trials, an enthusiastic man will surely succeed.
That's so true.
It's about persistence,
It is.
never giving up.
Yeah. And that message, I think,
Yeah.
really resonates with anyone who's ever achieved anything meaningful.
Right, because it's rarely a straight line.
Nothing.
Success.
It's a journey
Right.
with lots of twists and turns.
Exactly.
But you just got to keep going.
You got to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, something that stood out to me
Yeah.
as we were prepping for this episode
Uh-huh.
was this idea of gratitude,
Oh, yeah.
remembering those who have helped you.
It's so important.
It is, and it comes up again and again in Corporate Chanakya.
Repeatedly.
And it's not just about saying thank you. It's about recognizing that success
Yeah.
is rarely a solo thing.
It takes a village.
It does.
We all stand on the shoulders of giants.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And Chanakya actually says this so beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
In chapter 154,
Okay.
he says, gratify, according to his power to help, one who has helped him.
So acknowledge the role that others have played
Yeah.
in your success.
Express your appreciation
Yes.
in a tangible way.
And that can be simple,
It can.
like a phone call
Yeah.
or offering to help them with something.
Exactly. It's the thought that counts.
It is.
Yeah, we often get so focused on what's ahead,
Right.
we forget to look back.
And acknowledge those who have supported us.
Exactly.
So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
think about someone who has helped you on your journey.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's a mentor,
Yeah.
a colleague,
A friend.
a friend, anyone.
Yeah.
And reach out to them.
Today,
Today, let them know you appreciate them
you'll be surprised how much it means to them.
and how good it will make you feel.
It's like a ripple effect.
Of positivity.
Positivity.
You know, a lot of people struggle with career decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Whether to take a new job,
Yeah.
start a business,
Go back to school.
all these big decisions.
Big decision.
And there's always that fear
Uh-huh.
of making the wrong choice.
Absolutely.
So what does Chanakya say about this?
Well, in chapter 155,
Okay.
he advises, in case of two alternate routes, he should march in a region suitable to himself.
So choose the path that's right for you,
Yes.
not what someone else wants you to do.
It requires self-reflection,
Yes.
honesty.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? What
Right.
are you good at?
What kind of environment do you thrive in?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes it involves taking a risk,
Right.
stepping outside your comfort zone.
So have you ever had a tough career decision
Oh, many times.
where you had to choose between two paths?
Yeah. early in my career. I had to decide whether to stay in a comfortable but unchallenging role or move to a new city for a more demanding
but potentially more rewarding
opportunity.
What did you do?
I took the leap.
You did?
I did.
Good for you.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it led to incredible growth.
That's great.
Yeah.
It speaks to that idea of success through energy.
It does.
Sometimes you just got to trust your gut.
Yeah.
And take that leap.
You do.
Okay, so another common workplace dilemma.
Okay.
Dealing with multiple bosses.
Oh, yeah.
Or getting conflicting instructions.
That's a tough one.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It can be.
Trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
And you end up pleasing no one.
Exactly.
So what does Chanakya say about this?
Well, in chapter 156, says, obey the orders of one who proposes what is beneficial to all.
So use your judgment.
Yes.
Which course of action is best for everyone?
For the greater good.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
So you're like a diplomat.
You are.
You have to navigate all these different personalities.
Like skill.
And perspective.
Yeah. Strong communication.
Active listening.
Being able to see things from multiple points of view.
So it's sometimes having those tough conversations.
Yes.
You know, advocating for what you think is best.
Even if it means disagreeing with someone in authority.
Right. Exactly.
It's about being assertive.
Yes.
But also respectful.
Of course.
Okay, so this is something that I think can be kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But is really important, knowing how much to charge for your work.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's negotiating a salary, setting prices,
seeking funding.
Yeah, it can feel so uncomfortable.
It can.
Putting a price tag on your value.
A lot of people struggle with that.
So what does Chanakya say?
Well, in chapter 157, he advises he should ask money of the rich according to their wealth, or according to benefits conferred on them, or whatever they may offer of their own will.
So it depends.
On who you're dealing with.
The context.
And the context.
Yes.
So if you're dealing with like a big corporation, you might ask for more
than you would from a small startup.
Right.
Exactly.
And he also suggests, considering what you've already provided to that person.
The benefits.
The benefits.
Yeah. Have you helped them achieve a goal?
Have you offered advice?
Expertise.
Yeah. So demonstrate your value.
Yes.
There's a story in the book.
Oh, yeah.
About a client of Pillai's who had a doctor perform surgery for free.
Wow.
And instead of paying a fee, he bought the doctor a really nice gift.
Oh, wow.
As like a thank you.
That's a great example of exchanging value in different ways.
Right.
Yeah, and finally, Chanakya suggests that, sometimes you just gotta
let the other person decide.
Let them decide.
What they're willing to offer.
Yeah.
Trust their judgment.
Trust.
Okay, so do your research.
Yes.
Understand the context. Be confident
in your value.
Yeah. But be open.
Yes.
To different ways of exchanging value.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered so much today.
We have.
Leadership motivation, financial wisdom, negotiation.
A lot.
Corporate Chanakya has so much.
It does.
Offer.
It's a testament to the timeless nature of his wisdom.
It is.
It's amazing how it's still so relevant.
It's amazing how this ancient text is so relevant, in today's business world.
It really speaks to, I think, those enduring human challenges and aspirations.
Yeah.
The details might change, but the fundamental principles of leadership and strategy, human interaction, those things are always the same.
They stay pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And something that stood out to me as we were prepping for this episode is this idea of finding the right fit.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like your role in an organization, but like the company culture itself.
That's so important.
It is.
And Chanakya actually addresses this directly in chapter 158, where he advises those who are working with powerful individuals to be cautious.
To be cautious?
Yeah, and discern.
So it's not just about finding a powerful mentor.
Right.
It's about making sure that relationship is good for you.
It has to be mutually beneficial.
Mutually beneficial.
And supportive.
Right, because not all powerful people are good mentors.
Not at all.
Or leaders.
Some might use their power to manipulate others for their own personal gain.
So how do we apply this to our own careers? How do we find those leaders and mentors who are genuinely invested in us?
Well, I think it starts with paying attention to those subtle cues.
What do you mean?
How do they treat their team? Do they listen to feedback? Do they share credit?
Oh, that's a good one.
Are they interested in developing the people around them?
actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can tell a lot about a person by how they treat others.
Especially those in a less powerful position.
Yeah, and this applies to company culture as a whole.
It does.
So do your research.
Yes.
Talk to people who work there.
Get a feel for the vibe.
Don't be afraid to ask tough questions.
In the interview,
Yes.
what are the company's values? How do they handle conflict?
Yeah.
What are their policies on work-life balance?
It's about finding a place where you can thrive.
Thrive, not just survive.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something else that could be tough.
Okay.
Especially in like a high-pressure work environment. Knowing when to say enough.
Oh, yeah. Setting boundaries.
Setting boundaries.
Recognizing your limits.
Yes.
That's so important.
It's so easy to get caught up in that always-on culture.
Always.
And feel like you always have to be pushing yourself.
The limit.
Yeah, and that leads to burnout.
It does.
Yeah.
Resentment.
Yeah, and you become less effective.
You do.
Chanakya addresses this
Oh, really?
in chapter 159,
Okay.
where he cautions against forcing anyone to do anything
Against their will.
against their will.
So respect boundaries.
Yes.
Yours and other people's.
Everyone has limits.
Right.
And pushing people beyond those limits
Yeah.
is counterproductive.
It is.
You got to create a culture
Yeah.
of sustainability.
Where people can say no.
Yeah, and prioritize their well-being.
It's so important.
It is.
And it's not just about work.
Right.
It's all areas of life.
It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between striving for excellence and taking care of yourself.
It's not selfish
No,
to prioritize yourself.
it's essential.
Yeah, if you want to be your best.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Corporate Chanakya.
What are the top 3 things that our listeners can take away?
Okay, well, first and foremost,
Right.
remember that true leadership is rooted in wisdom,
Cool.
integrity, and compassion.
I like that.
Yeah. Chanakya reminds us that it's not just about power or authority.
It's about serving others.
Yes.
Making a positive impact.
Lead with your head and your heart.
I love that.
Okay.
Number 2.
Okay.
Continuous learning.
Right.
Self-reflection.
That growth mindset.
Yes, never stop learning.
Yeah. Never stop growing.
And number 3,
Okay.
strategic thinking
Okay.
and action. Chanakya was a master strategist,
He was.
and his advice is full of practical strategies.
For achieving our goals.
But it also emphasizes adaptability,
Okay.
resilience.
Because things don't always go according to plan.
Rarely.
So you have to adjust.
You got to be flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and never give up
Never give up.
on your vision.
This has been an incredible journey.
And thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
It's been my pleasure.
Corporate Chanakya is such a rich text.
It is.
We've only scratched the surface.
I encourage everyone to dive in.
Yes.
Discover its wisdom.
Okay, so a final thought.
Okay.
Our listeners. Arthashastra was read for rulers,
Kings.
Yeah. But how can we use its wisdom to navigate today's ethical dilemmas
That's a great question.
in business?
It is.
How can we make sure we're using our power for good?
That's something we all have to think about
We do.
as we navigate the business world.
There are no easy answers.
No, but by engaging with these principles and reflecting on them, we can start to chart a course that's both successful
And ethical.
and ethical.
Thank you for joining us
Yes.
on this deep dive
Thank you.
into Corporate Chanakya.
Yeah.
We hope you found it insightful
And inspiring.
and inspiring.
Until next time, keep seeking wisdom
Yes.
from unexpected sources.
I love that.
And remember, leadership,
Yeah.
self-discovery,
Yes.
it's an ongoing journey.